Alright, welcome back ladies and gentlemen to the Chupacabra tutorials channel. I'm your host Larry, and we're back for another Discord server tutorial, this time doing the complete Discord server tutorial setup majigger for 2019. And it's actually a relatively simple process, and I'll show you how to do that here today. So when you open up your Discord and you've been invited by some friends to a server, you should see a big honking list of icons on the sidebar, a lot like this. And all you have to do in order to make your own server is go down to this add a server button here at the bottom. You can use this to either manually join a server if you know what the name is or what have you, or what I'm more interested in is create a server. And this allows us to name it, make an icon, and basically do whatever we want with it relatively quickly. So we'll call this the Chupacabra test server, because I'm going to delete this later. And I'm going to change the server region to something closer to me in the US West region. And then what do I want to do for an icon? If it'll let me. I guess it's not really popping anything up. Oh, there it goes. It's being a little slow. It'll let me pick an icon here. So for an icon, let's go into my YouTube files. Let's go into my channel graphics. And then let's use this lighter icon that I prefer. And then once that's uploaded, I will go ahead and click create, because now I have a second version of my original server's icon. I can always change this later, so if you want to just put in a placeholder right now, it's really not much of a big deal. So now that I've created the server, it'll ask me if I want to immediately invite some friends to the server, and it's also automatically invited me and connected me to the default voice channel here in the background. But I'm still making stuff, so I'm not really going to worry about that. I'm going to just go through and start changing these channels and adding roles and permissions so that I can start adding people later once I am ready. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the default text channel to the welcome message and rules channel, because generally the default channel that it starts with in a server is the one people will always see when they first join, unless you do some rigmarole to block off every channel but one welcome channel when people first join. So I'm going to go to edit this channel by hovering over it and clicking that gear, and I'm going to call this the welcome channel. And right now, the welcome channel, you can't really do anything fancy with like uppercase, lowercase, because it just shows it as all uppercase. But what we can do for any channel that we're creating or editing is I can add an emoji to this channel, and I've got that right here with this emoji list, this emoji table. You can go to any Unicode emoji table. I'll link this one in the description below. And you can copy and paste whatever channel you want to use, or icon you want to use, I should say, for this channel for welcoming people to the server so that they know this one should have their utmost attention before they go around and start talking to people. So let's see, let's do like a hand wave thing just to welcome people. I'll just highlight this and copy it and hide this for the moment. And I'll just paste that in front so that the first thing they say is, hello and welcome to the server. And channel topic is, please read the following rules and other announcements before talking and doing things on the server. And then this doesn't need to be a not safe for work channel, so we'll just go ahead and click save. And then after that, what kind of channels do I want? Probably an announcement channel. And that'll still be a text channel. And do I want another icon? That's a good question. What do we got? What do I want for announcements? Something like a megaphone, right? One of those speakers that amplifies your voice. I know they've got one in here someplace. It's like, I'd call it like the notification alert thing. Actually, let's just say it's the birthday cake channel. Just for kicks, because I'm going to delete this later anyway. So we'll just say that's the announcements channel. You don't have to put an emoji in every channel. I just like to do it because I think it's fun. And then we'll create... So let's edit this category, because these text channels can be split up into multiple components. So we'll just say these are edit category. We'll call that the general chat and hangout. Categories are just like a little hovering section, kind of like these voice channels. And you can put voice channels by dragging and dropping them into basically any category that you want. I'll just put the general chat in here. We'll call this, by editing it, the Hangout Central. And I'll click OK. You can adjust a couple of things inside of voice channels that you can't inside of text channels. One of them is the user limit, which is how many people are allowed into the channel. It's important to note if you make anybody an admin, they can bypass this user limit. The other thing is you can increase the overall voice quality from 64 kilobits per second to up to 96 kilobits per second. I would leave this at default or lower, simply because people with bad connections to your server with high ping might be negatively affected. But you can increase this if you want, if you're somebody who likes really cool audio. The other thing you can do inside of all the different channels that you're editing is you can change permissions, so that specific roles that you create have specific permissions in specific channels outside of just the general server permissions. And you can see if there's any active instant invites in this channel that somebody's created and brought people into the server with. So that's the Hangout Central. I think I'll just keep this under voice channels, though, and you can drag and drop these anytime you want. Let's edit this category to say the voice hangouts. I just like to keep things nice and organized so it's easy to tell where everything is. And then underneath of voice hangouts, let's create another channel. Let's call this the AFK Disco Party, because we need an AFK channel when people are talking in a channel and then they need to be put somewhere so people tell that they're not there. And then let's call another one of these text channels general chat, and can I put, no, I can't put like ampersands or anything. General chat and crab people, just because it doesn't really matter what I call this. So this is just where people go to hang out and talk, and then we'll talk about like what would be another good channel? Music sharing. And that'll be our general purpose channels. And let's create an extra voice channel called Gaming, or Currently Gaming. We'll call that another voice channel. And you can put icons inside of the voice channels as well, inside of their names. I just am not for the current time. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some roles. Let's go up to this little arrow here at the top of our server name. Click on that and go down to server settings. And this is where all of our server settings are kept. Let's go and set up our AFK channel. We'll say it's the AFK Disco Party, and people will be booted there after 15 minutes. That's how you set that up. The new member messages channel. So you can create a welcome channel where people joining the channel will have a message pop up where you can see, you know, welcome to the server. This person's joined the party. I don't like that, so I disable that. And then the default notification settings will determine whether members who have not explicitly set their notification settings receive a notification. I set this to only people mentioning them so people don't get spammed by my server. If they want to check what's going on, they can just pop in, read through, or ignore it so it's not constantly spamming them, because I dislike spammy servers and don't want to be a source of that. Moderation settings. Let's just click on this. So moderation settings just control things like if your streamer mode is enabled or disabled, if it hides personal information, hides instant invite links, disables sounds and all this. You don't really have to worry about this stuff. This is just streamer mode stuff. Let's see. Actually, I don't know why that's showing up underneath of your server settings. That shouldn't even be in there. That's mostly user setting stuff. So let's disable my stream settings, because I can just control this later. Server settings, moderation. What kind of moderation or safeties do I want in here? So what I definitely want is when people just join, because let's say I make this a public server, I want people to have been registered on Discord with their account for longer than 5 minutes. And if I'm really concerned with spammers, I'll set it so that they have to be a part of the server for longer than 10 minutes. I can also set an explicit content filter. This will cover things like nasty images that Discord's aware of, things like pornography and stuff you can filter out. I think this might also filter out cussing as well. So you can scan messages without a role, scan messages sent by all members to make sure that they behave. I generally moderate myself and ban people accordingly, so I generally don't worry about that too much. Yes, I'd like to save my settings, Discord, thank you. Audit log, this just is an ongoing log of all the stuff that goes on in your server. If you're curious who deleted something or who banned someone, you can jump into the audit log and it'll give you explicit details about what's going on. Roles, this is where you set up all of the different roles for your server. Admins, veterans, co-owners, regular members, non-members, what have you. That's all set up here. Integrations, this is like if you've got accounts linked up to here for whatever reason, those will appear here. Your custom server emoji will appear here. I'll show you how to make those in a moment. Webhooks, these are stuff that you use online so that people can join the server that way from a website. Widgets are kind of similar. It's just a really quick way to do that. You can copy and paste this and pump it onto your server if you've got a blog, for example, and then people will be able to see the little widget pop up and click on it to join. User management, you can look at the members that are currently active on your site and ban them. You can look at all of the current active invite codes that are going on right now. This is the one that was auto-generated when I created the server. And this is a list of all the bans and kicks that have happened on the server in case you want to reverse them because they were done accidentally or by an overzealous use of a bot. So let's go back to the roles, because this is probably what a lot of people are interested in. These are the permissions that were set up. So these are the default at everyone role. You cannot delete this or remove this, but you can change some of the behaviors. This is what happens when anybody joins your server. This is the default permission they will have, unless you have something like a bot that will automatically assign them something. So I don't want random people to change their nickname, because then they try to like hide who they are when they're spamming. I don't want them to invite other people unless I trust them. Let's see, I don't mind if they see text channels and see all the voice channels. I don't mind if they send messages. I don't want them to use text-to-speech, because that's an easy way for people to spam. They can embed links, they cannot attach, well, they can attach files, they can read message history, they cannot message everyone, so they can't spam everybody. They can't use external emojis, and they cannot add reactions, they can connect, speak, they cannot mute members or any of that jazz, and they can use voice activity. This is just so it's like using voice detect to let you talk in the voice channels. If you have somebody who's just randomly joins, and they have a lot of annoying background noise, you can disable this for them specifically or just for everybody, and that prevents them from using that, and they have to use a push to talk, or else they can't talk at all. So that's a good set of permissions for the everyone role. Let's create a members role. And I'm going to call my members cryptids, which are mythological creatures like the Loch Ness Monster. And their color will be... let's pick like teal. Like a medium teal. That looks good. They will be able to... None of these managing or kicking permissions. This will be for an admin later. I'd let them change their nicknames because they've proven that they can be responsible adults with this. However, I will not allow them to manage nicknames and change other people. They cannot manage emojis or anything. I won't let them basically manage a thing, because that's a job for admins. They can send messages. You know what? They can send text-to-speech to get someone's attention if they need to. They will not be allowed to manage messages, which means they can delete other people's stuff. They can embed links, attach files, read message history. I'm not letting them mention everybody because that's just an annoying feature. They can use external emojis, they can add reactions, and let's say, yeah, it's all good. I don't need to add anything new at the bottom there. Next up, let's add a veteran role, just for kicks. We'll call this the veteran role. And we'll call these like the, what's a good name for like a crazy cryptid? Mutants. We'll just call these like the super mutants, just for kicks, and we'll make their role like a green. You can use the preset role colors too if you want, I just don't want to. So those will be super mutants, and they will have the ability to... I will let them kick members who are being butts, but they will not be allowed to ban people. They will be allowed to create instant invites, they can change their nickname, they can... What else would I like them to do? They can send these, they can no managing messages, this is only for admins in my book. They can mention everybody, they can use external emoji, add reactions. I will let them mute people that are annoying because I trust them to be channel moderators to a degree. And then they can also move members, and I'll say that's pretty good. Priority speaker, when this person talks, everyone else's volume gets lowered so they can't talk over them. This is very valuable if you're doing a podcast and somebody is moderating. If you're playing a game that involves like a coordinated raid, then you could make the person who's in charge the priority speaker, or just the admin in general. In general, I leave this off because it can be abused very easily. So that's a good one for veterans. And then next, I would like to create a role for admins. And we'll call these the admin monster. And they will be red, or let's say they'll be a nice orange. They will be admins. This basically kind of gives them every last server permission. They're allowed to, people are allowed to mention this role, so they can say @admin to get this person's attention. I will display, actually let me change this too. They will display all these roles separately from regular members, so that on the sidebar these people will appear. Which is kind of important in my book. See, they can view the audit log because they can tell if somebody's misbehaved and they can ban them. They can manage the server because that allows them to change region in case Discord's having a hiccup. They can change roles, they can manage the channels, kick people, ban people, create invites, change nicknames, manage emojis, manage webhooks, send text-to-speech, manage messages, mention people, use external emojis. Basically, I'm giving admins basically everything. If you don't trust your admins as much as I tend to trust the handful of people I give admin to, by all means, don't give them all of this. And then, of course, there's my role as the server owner, which I will actually just give it to myself. Let's call this the head honcho. And I'll make that like a burgundy red. And that'll just be given to me, to moi. And then I can give myself a role by just clicking on myself in the sidebar and giving myself the head honcho title. Now, unfortunately, if other people join the server and you see them appear in the sidebar, their role will appear higher than mine in the list because of the order that I have them in the server settings. So if you want the head honcho to appear at the top of the list, you have to click and drag it to, you guessed it, the top of the list. And this is the order that all of the different roles will appear in the sidebar. So that's what that's for. If you have any questions about what any of these permissions do, if I kind of skipped over something, feel free to ask. You can also Google it. Discord has a very nice FAQ kind of wiki that tells you how a lot of that stuff works. So let's see. The one thing I want to do is I want to move this AFK channel to the bottom here, if it'll behave itself. Then I'm going to edit that channel, and I'm going to go to permissions, and everybody who's in this channel cannot speak, because you should not be able to use this channel as a hangout, because it's supposed to be for AFK people only. So they will be automatically moved here, but they will not be able to talk while they were in here. Oh, and I suppose you're probably wondering, what is this sync button that just showed up here on the sidebar, Larry? This synchronization button that you see on the side here makes it so that this would sync this role with the rest of the @everyone role on the server so that nobody could talk in basically any channel. Only use this if you have a specific reason to, and Google it before you do. There's a bunch of people that keep using this and breaking their server settings. Just do all this manually so you know what each channel's permissions are so nothing is broken. If you are an admin for a server and you change something, make a note somewhere, make an admin-only chat. Like, let's do that. Let's make an admin-only section. Let's right-click and say Create Category. And this will be a private category that only the head honcho and the admins can see. And then inside of here, we will create a channel. Actually, I'll just click the button, and we will say, this is, again, a private channel for only these people. You can also make this private through permissions so that only people with the right permissions can see anything written in there. Otherwise, it's just a mysterious, empty channel. But this way, it just appears hidden for anybody but admins. We'll call this admin chat. And then we'll create another one called voice chat and make that private as well. We'll make that an admin meeting. And then here, admins and the server owner can leave messages for each other based upon, like, I had to ban this guy for this reason, he was being an ass, or I had to change these permissions because these people were abusing it. And then you'll know what people have done, so you don't get confused as to why a channel might have been broken. You can go and see who edited it and be like, look, you messed up these permissions, just watch these in the future, and then you don't have to worry. Let me go to my other server that I already have existed, and let's edit a few things here. So let's say I want to change some permissions directly on a channel like Q&A. I can click on the edit by hovering over and clicking on the gear, and I can go to permissions, and then I can add somebody's name directly, like let's say I want to edit Chewy's permissions, and I want Chewy to be able to manage messages in this channel. All you have to do is start typing in someone's name, either here or in the main roles, and you can create a rule specifically for that person. That way, let's say, who's a good example? Let's just say Grim Taco. I don't know Grim Taco, I don't think we've talked ever, but I can go to server settings, I can go to roles, and I can say, actually no, I think you have to do that specifically elsewhere. Let's delete that. You can't do that here. You have to only do that in channels. My bad. Let's go to the squid room. Let's say Grim Taco has background noise in his microphone. I can change this role to Grim Taco, or I can make a role specifically for Grim Taco, and then I can say, you're not allowed to use voice activity anymore. And he is now stuck in that channel only using a push to talk, or else he can't speak. And it'll appear to him as though he has muted his microphone, when in fact he just has to set it up correctly. Likewise, you can set specific permissions in every last one of these channels. You can even edit a category and set a category up with permissions as well. I will do an updated permissions tutorial talking about what every permission does and why for 2019 as well, but this has been a brief overview for how to set all this stuff up in 2019. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll start talking about how to use things like bots to do additional administration at a later point. But this is how you set all these things up in general. I guess we can also talk about some of your user settings, but I'll probably leave that for later. So until next time, I've been your host, Larry. This is how you set up and do a bunch of permissions for your server. We'll get into more advanced details at a later date. So I hope you have found this helpful. Let me know if you've got any questions in the comment section below. I'm always glad to help, and I'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody, and have a good one.